Good morning, guys. The late comedian Norm Macdonald once jokingly said, imagine the Islamophobia if ISIS destroyed the world with nuclear bombs. And he said that poking fun at the left because it was right after 9/11, and Muslim extremists, Muslim terrorists killed thousands of innocent women, children, and men on 9/11. And all the left-wing media was concerned about was us being mad at Muslims. And you see that same thing happening today on the left. In the past 10 years alone, in just Africa alone, Muslim terrorists have killed, like brutally by beheadings in the worst possible way of dying, over 125,000 Christians in 10 years, just in Africa. They burnt to the ground over 19,000 churches. Think about these numbers. There's over 100 Catholic priests being held hostage and being tortured on a daily basis by Muslim extremists. And add in the Protestant pastors, you're talking over 300 clergymen. And yet, the left tells us the problem is the Jews. So I have a message for Matt Fradd. I tried to put a comment to encourage him yesterday, but I'm pretty sure I'm still blocked, and I get it. It's no, I actually don't take offense, and I don't think it was Matt. He had told me, in one of my comments when I made a video about it, he said he didn't do it, and but I know with a channel his size, there's no way he could look at all the comments. I'm sure he has people working for him. And sometimes my humor may come off as nasty in a text. Like, if you meet me, I could say something to you. I was with my daughter and we were walking through the zoo with her son and her husband the other day. And she's like, man, Dad, you could say, I don't know, you could say anything to anybody and they laugh. But if you write what I say, it might sound nasty. So what I said was, he had a priest on there smoking cigars. And I jokingly said, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, the cigarette companies would have medical doctors smoking cigarettes recommended in their brand. The famous medical doctor that said 4 out of 5 doctors recommend Camels. If you have anxiety, smoke a cigarette. And I jokingly said, and now you have a Catholic priest promoting your cigars. It was a joke. And so I think that I was blocked, so he's not getting any of my comments. So this is a message. If he gets a chance, I want to encourage him. He has a great opportunity to evangelize. He has a great opportunity to spread the Christian message, the Catholic Christian message, and he's getting a lot of criticism for it. So I just want to be one of the few voices that give him a little encouragement. I seen a short video pop up on my feed yesterday that he was going to address the horrendous allegations against him on Daily Fire. I think that's what it's called, Friendly Fire on Daily Wire. But it's like an hour and a half podcast. When I get up at 3, spend time with the Lord, drink my coffee, and I make these videos. So really didn't have time to watch the video. I tried skimming through it, but I couldn't find any parts he was talking about it. Lord willing, I'll get a chance to watch it. But what I want to tell him is, I was just as shocked at the anti-Semitism coming from our side as I'm sure you are, Matt. And I'm just going to tell you my experience with it and where it's coming from. For what it's worth, I'm just a 6-year-old man who gets up 3 o'clock in the morning, makes videos before he goes to work, just a blue-collar guy. But like I was telling someone I gave advice to the other day, I got a PhD. I've been poor, hungry, and desperate, and I've learned a lot. But actually, I was a Protestant for 30 years, witnessing the people. I'm a talker. I talk to everybody. And, we call it in Protestantism witnesses. In the past 10 years, as a Catholic, we call it evangelizing. So I talk to a lot of people. And I see the same thing I'm seeing on YouTube in real life. And I'm going to tell you where it's coming from and my advice how to handle it. But first, I want to tell you my experience. someone who supports Israel, I lost a lot of subscribers. I made a video, how to lose 100 subscribers in 100 days. And the biggest part of it was supporting Israel. And if you support Israel, the Catholics will call you a dispensationalist. Like, oh, you were Protestant too long, you're a dispensationalist. And even if you tell them, bro, I was an amillennialist. I didn't believe in dispensationalism even as a Protestant, much less as a Catholic. I just follow what Pope St. John Paul II and Pope Benedict said. These are our, Pope JP2 said, they're our elder brothers. Pope Benedict says they're the elders of our faith. They're the fathers of our faith. But from a purely political stance, conservatives, which I've been my whole life. I've been a conservative since I'm like 13, 14 years old, living in the inner cities in the hood in Jersey, fighting, debating Democrats and seeing their empty philosophy on politics. Conservatives have always supported Israel because we have the same enemy. The Muslims hate us both. They want to kill us both. They're killing us both. So first, I just want to tell my experience. No matter what you tell these people, either they ignore it or they throw false facts. So you've seen it on the left, but then you're hearing like Catholics repeating this, and it's just blowing my mind. And the Christians, Protestant Christians that want to come over, they're like shaking their head, like, "What's up with your church defending Muslims?" And I'm like, "It's not the church; it's just some individuals." So, like, after October 7th, that was horrific. And reliable sources said there were videos of these Muslims beheading babies and doing the most horrendous stuff. And we've seen videos of them doing it in the past. So, what makes you think they've changed, And I had Dale Comscott, Delta Force operator, and he could tell you some horrendous stories he's seen, what these Muslims do. They do horrible things to Christians and Jews, just for them being Christian and Jew. So you get one, no, that didn't happen. Like, really? And then, the response was worse. And that's what we got from the left with 9/11. Our response was worse because a lot of civilians were killed in Afghanistan. But this is war. War is hell. This is why we try to stay out of wars. So Tucker Carlson comes out and says, if Israel bombs Iran's nuclear sites, they're going to pull us in an endless war. And that's their plan. Israel's plan is to pull us into an endless war. And then Taylor Marshall repeats them, and all the copycat Catholic YouTubers repeat him. And I come out, I'm like, no, it's a good idea they're doing this because they're going to knock out their air defenses for us, and we'll go in and be able to knock it out. And they're not going to pull us into this war. Trump don't want no endless war. He's the most anti-war president we've had in my lifetime. And I was right, and they were wrong. In fact, they said if. I said, it's not an if. They're going to do it. Israel's going to do it. And I actually predicted the day, and I nailed it. And people were like joking. Friends of mine were joking. Wow, I always knew you were in the CIA. It was like silly jokes like that. You must be in the CIA. You knew. But then those who hate the Jews were like, they paid you off. I'm unsubscribing. I had so many people unsubscribe me for that video. Then shortly after that, Tucker Carlson comes out and says, if the United States bombs Iran, this was after Israel bombed them, within a week, tens of thousands of Americans will be killed and gas prices will be over $30 a gallon. And I came out with another video again, and Taylor Marshall said the same thing. He quoted some prophecy from Our Lady, the desolation of souls or something. Like he took what Tucker Marshall said and Catholicized it. And I came out and said, no, these guys are wrong. This is the best thing we can do. This will end the war. At this point, there were Iran and Israel like declare war. I'm like, no, this will end the war. No Americans are gonna get died. No Americans are gonna get killed. I was right. They were wrong. Iran came to the peace table, and the war's over. No Americans were died. In Florida, the gas is like $2.70 a gallon. So what do the people that unsubscribe to me say, or the people that support Tucker, Taylor, and all their copycats who hate Israel? Nothing. they ignore it. And then I make a video. Candace Owens was proved completely wrong. She said Bibi Netanyahu talked about this email he got from Charlie Kirk, but why did he only read the first few sentences? Why didn't he read the whole email? I'm like, well, because he was like on a 3-minute news segment, so maybe he didn't want to take up the whole time reading the entire email. And then she comes out with a few days later with a text that she got from Charlie Kirk. And they're saying, see, she proved she was right. You need to take that down. She was right. She was telling the truth. I'm like, I wasn't talking about a personal text she got from Charlie Kirk. I was talking about an email Charlie Kirk sent to Bibi Netanyahu. And he released it. That's why she was proven completely wrong. He released it, and Charlie was totally supportive of Bibi and Israel. So you see how they play 3-card Monte? And this is what they do. This is another trick they do, Matt. They'll play 3-card Monte. You'll be talking about an email, and one of their supporters will talk about a text, and they look at the text, and they don't see, no, 3-card Monte. You know, so that's another thing they do. They'll talk about something totally different. So beware of that. And, you know, if I was a conspiracy theory, which I'm not, and people ask me, well, how do I always get it right? Because I got like a 99.9% success rate in when I talk about politics of getting it right. People want me to predict the New Jersey and Virginia race, so I might do that. They're a lot closer than you think, but it's not a slam dunk. But I'll talk about that if you guys want. I know a lot of people get mad when I talk politics, but if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say, well, you know, Tucker Carlson, admit it, this is true. And this is what conspiracy theories do. They'll take one truth and say, this proves this, which it normally doesn't. That's why it's a conspiracy theory, not a true conspiracy, which actually exists. But I would say Tucker Carlson admitted taking $180,000 from Muslim nation, Qatar, you know, for a speech he gave. So maybe, you know, Qatar, they say Qatar, you know, is like the biggest, second biggest. Iran was the biggest supporter of terrorists until we obliterated them. Israel obliterated all their terrorist groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Islamic Jihad. Iran was number one. Now I think Qatar is number one supporter of Muslim terrorists, and he takes that money from them. So you could say, yeah, of course he's gonna say bad things about Israel. You know, Nick Fuentes, you know, actually said he thinks Islam is a greater threat than the Jews. You know, so if I was to make a conspiracy theory, I would say, you know, out of the top 10 contributors, lobbyists, you know, governments have their lobbyists, you know, just like, you know, Big Pharma has their, Big Tobacco has their lobbyists, governments, like out of the top 10 lobbyists, most of them, and if you add it together by far, they give more to the United States congressmen or Muslim nations. Qatar's like one of the biggest governments that donates money, you know, that pays, you know, their lobbyists to pay our congressmen, that donates to our congressmen. Israel's 10th in donations, you know. So I would say there was a conspiracy theory. You know, you look at the universities, and I did several videos about this. They get billions. I think it comes up to like hundreds of $billions, you know. All the Ivy Leagues, it's like close to $100 billion or over $100 billion from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all these Muslim countries. So I would say the conspiracy would be people supporting Islam. Why isn't anybody talking about this? This is an actual genocide. So these Muslims that are beheading Christians in Africa every day, I'm sure Christians were killed today, raped and murdered today. They actually say they want a genocide. They use that word. They want to eliminate every Christian. They say they want a global jihad. In fact, the guy who's about to be mayor of New York City has called for a global jihad. His father, who's like an intellect scholar, supposedly professor, recently said Hitler was inspired by Abraham Lincoln. I mean, these people hate America. They hate Christians. They hate Jews. So if I would say there was anyone in control, I would say it's the Islamists, backed by the left, because the second biggest contributor to our congressmen and to all these universities is communist China. So I see a collusion there, the left and Islam working together against Christians and Jews, if I were a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not. I'm 60 years old, and I get things right because I don't listen to all these conspiracies. I look at the facts, I look at the evidence, I see what the left is saying, I see what the right is saying, I see what the military is saying, I see what the peace activists are saying, and I look at the evidence, I look at reality, Rush Limbaugh taught me that years ago. Don't listen to the conspiracy theories, just look at the evidence and the facts. Because if I was a conspiracy theory, I would say the left wants us to look dumb. So they put these people in place that say they're conservatives and repeat these foolish things that are proven to be untrue. So then they don't believe anything conservatives say. Well, that conservative said if we bombed Iran, we'd be in an endless war and tens of thousands of Americans would be dying. So he was wrong about that. So he must be wrong about the Fed. He must be wrong about taxes. A lot of things I agree with Tucker on. And again, I always say this, it's not important who's right, it's important what's right. Like people say, oh, do you like this guy? Do you follow that guy? And I'm like, I like some of what he says. I dislike some of what he says. Everybody, including Matt, including Tucker. Even me, sometimes I look back, I'm like, I don't like the way I said that. But I don't follow anybody but Jesus. And I follow him through his church, because St. Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. I used to always say, follow the pastor as he follows the master. So we follow our church. We follow Peter. Jesus said, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. So a couple last words, because I get going to work here in a minute. A couple last words. Matt, no matter what you say, you're not going to convince these people. Not only, it's one thing, you can have an honest debate with someone, should we support Israel or should we not? The state of Israel. But and I'm sure you've seen it, the texts and emails I get and comments, they don't disagree with the government of Israel. These people are convinced Jewish people in their blood, just like the Nazis, are evil. Somehow they think if you're Jewish, you're evil. It's really bizarre coming, and we're getting a lot from the right, believe it or not, which, just blows my mind. And I'm going to tell you in a minute where it's coming from the Catholic side. I actually made a video proving this. But another thing I would weave into conspiracy, if I was a conspiracy theorist, is the left and Islam have the same goal. They both hate Christians. So they're working together, and you've seen this, Charlie Kirk's murder, for years, us conservatives have been trying to get the message out that the left is violent. And the left-wing media always tries to project that we're the violent ones. And the reality in my life, 90% of the political violence, and again, I'm 60 years old, I've been a political nerd since I'm a young teenager, and I'm telling you, 90% of the political violence comes from the left. And we had hard evidence, it was clear as day, a left-wing radicalized kid who was gay, who's going to marry a transvestite, killed Charlie Kirk because she hated Charlie Kirk because he thought he was mean, because he said homosexuality is a sin and transgenderism is demonic. Just the same exact thing Pope Francis said. We had him dead to right. Boom. Yeah, see, the left is violent. Your left-wing rhetoric, is causing these young left-wingers to be violent, because you're telling them we're evil. The right's evil. Trump's not Hitler. All that. And then some on our side say, no, literally, I meet people every day. I literally talk to conservatives after that, and I was like, man, that's horrible about Charlie. I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it. And they're like, yeah, the Jews did it. I'm like, really? These are intelligent people telling me this. And I'm like, dude, no, the left did it. And so you see how I would say the left, if I was a conspiracy theory, the left and Islam are working together against us Christians and Jews. You know, America was founded on Judeo-Christian values. We've always had the same goal politically, and I'm gonna lose subscribers, Matt. I'm telling you, I will lose subscribers over this. I guarantee. And I've been called a Zionist. I've been called a Krauser. I've been called a Crow. I've been called all kinds of names, but I'm used to being called names. Usually it's it's different names, but I'm not gonna say them. But so where is this coming from? I did a video, why the SSPX love the Nazis. Watch the video and you'll see that SSPX leaders, what they've said and what they've done, like literally done. It's clear as day. It's coming from them. And they're very influential to the traditional Catholics who make up a good majority of the voices on YouTube. And they're convincing a lot of people with this left-wing propaganda. You know, they call it Catholic teaching, but it's not. It's left-wing propaganda that I've been battling as a conservative for, I don't know, 50 years. So for what it's worth, Matt, you're doing a good job. Sometimes when you ask me the time, I will build you a clock. That's usually how I do it. So some of you might not even know what the heck I'm talking about. I just realized I didn't even tell you why people were attacking Matt. Simply because he was offered a great opportunity working for the Daily Wire, who's owned by Ben Shapiro, who happens to be a Jewish man. So they're saying he sold out to the Jews, but and they're just like attacking his character. They're just like really viciously attacking him. And to me, I was like, in a normal world, we'd be like, praise the Lord, another Catholic. I think there's like 3 Catholics already on there. Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, I forget the other guy's name. But now we're going to have another on fire Catholic. And, Michael Knowles is great politically, but I don't see him like an on fire Catholic, I see him like a smart, a lot of people come to the Catholic faith intellectually. It makes sense, almost like a philosophy. And some people come because they have an encounter with Christ and they're just on fire. And they just want to spread the word. So I'm not judging. I'm just saying he's more of a political guy in my view. I could be wrong. I don't know him personally. But from what I see with Matt, he's an on fire Catholic Christian who knows Jesus and loves the Lord and loves his church. And he's going to be great. He's going to be reaching so many non-Catholics on a regular basis. This is awesome. We should all be praising the Lord for this. I mean, this is what we pray for, that the Catholic Church can have an influence in the culture. And yet, Satan's got Catholics mad at him because he's working for a Jewish man. So this is, and again, Matt, I hope you appreciate this because I know I'm going to lose subscribers. I guarantee you. And it's like one of my subscribers made a video when I went over 20,000. And I said, man, I got to hold this because I always lose subscribers when I talk about controversial things. And sure enough, I did a video, about Israel, and man, it went down way under 20. And now I'm back up over 20. But if you look and it says like 19, this is it. So I hope you appreciate this, man. But I think it's worth it. And getting back to your smoking thing. It was just a joke, brother. I have a great holy priest, a good priest. He's young, on fire, and he always talks about smoking cigars. He loves cigars. In fact, I just went to an army base my daughter's husband was on and went to mass, and she was telling me that the chaplain, I said, man, that chaplain is so good. I got to have him on, and he agreed to come on. Paratrooper priest, like airborne chaplain. And she's like, yeah, he's really cool. He does a men's Bible study called Holy Smokes, where they sit around, smoke cigars, and study the Bible. So, and I was like, that's pretty cool. So I have nothing against that. I don't smoke, I'm trying to make it to 90, so I don't want to put anything in my body. But, I don't hold that against you. I'm not a legalist. I'm not a Pharisee. It was a joke for what it's worth. But anyway, Matt, I love your show. I wish you the best. I know you're going to do phenomenal. And I'm going to be praying for you, brother. But just my advice, don't even worry about these anti-Semites that are going to attack you. Just take the advice of St. Padre Pio. Pray, hope, and don't worry, brother. We got all eternity to celebrate, so don't let these little things get you down here. You're always going to have criticism. You're always going to have people disagreeing with you. Just remember, stay Catholic.